Good morning, everyone. Carolina Mikulowski from Pro Action Sports Injury Clinic. I am a chiropractor working in Canada, helping you move and feel better. So this week specifically, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about like cleaning up their yards, raking up the leaves, getting everything ready for the winter time. So probably a little bit more activity than some people are used to. They may have some back pain, arm soreness, things like that, if they're not lifting properly. So if you know anyone who's kind of hurting after cleaning up their yard, send them my way. Kind of on the opposite side of that, today I'm going to be talking more about sort of office ergonomics and injuries that people might get from sitting at a desk for long periods of time. More of a hot topic when people were originally working from home with COVID. Everyone was moving out of the office and trying to find ways to work at their kitchen table, at whatever desk or table they had in their house. But it could still apply today. I know a lot of people are still working remotely, but even if they are working in the office, there are some things that you can take away from this presentation. So I'll just talk about some common, I say injuries. It's not so much that people are like hurting themselves. It's more so that they're having aches and pains just related to the nature of a sitting job. So some common injuries, some causes of those injuries, things that you yourself can do about it, and then things that I can also help with. So some common injuries that maybe some of you or all of you have experienced before. Typical ones are things like headaches and eye strain, whether it's from looking at screens for long periods of time, or having your head in a certain position for a long period of time. Forearm and wrist pain, sometimes also referred to as carpal tunnel syndrome if you're specifically having weakness and tingling in your hands. Neck and back pain, of course, and then just general or overall stiffness. So the two sort of most common reasons for these types of injuries are ergonomics and posture. So one sort of leads into the other. Ergonomics is kind of the starting point. So just having things set up properly, things like your desk, your chair, your computer. And then from there, thinking about posture, which is actually the more important of the two. But with good ergonomics, you can set yourself up to improve your posture. So this is things like how you're sitting, how much you're moving, and how many breaks you're taking throughout the day. So this may be a familiar scene to some of you. If you started working during COVID, you didn't really have a monitor or computer set up. You were just sort of working from your laptop. But just a few different ways that people might have been sitting. Even if you try to sort of bring your laptop up to a more comfortable eye level, it may interfere with how your hands are positioned, things like that. So it's important to consider sort of all aspects of like an ergonomic desk setup. So with that, we'll just give sort of a brief description of what sort of an ergonomically correct desk might look like. So in terms of the monitor, the top of the monitor should be level with your eyes. Fun fact, looking straight ahead is actually not the most comfortable position for your eyes. Looking slightly down about 10 to 15 degrees is the most relaxed line of sight, which is why you want to have your eyes kind of at the top of the screen so they can comfortably sort of look down at whatever you're looking at. Elbows, you want to have those at about 90 degrees, like bent to 90 degrees. If you have armrests on your chair, that's great. Or if you're close enough to your desk that you can rest your arms at 90 degrees, or have your arms just hanging comfortably at your sides. You want your wrists to be in line with your forearms, not bending up, down, or to either side. You want to keep those straight. In terms of your legs, you want your thighs to be parallel to the floor, not sort of pointed up or pointed down. And with that, having your feet flat on the floor. So if you're trying to adjust your chair so that your feet are flat on the floor, and then the desk is too high, you can also consider putting some kind of footrest underneath the desk so you can sit up higher and still have your feet resting on something rather than just having your legs hanging and having the backs of your thighs pressing against the chair, which can get uncomfortable after a while. And then in terms of chairs specifically, the most ergonomically correct chair is going to be one that's fully adjustable. So this obviously includes the height of the chair, the angle of the backrest, the seat pan tilt. So where you sit, it should be able to sort of tilt back and forth to accommodate your hips. Armrests, ideally ones that are adjustable and removable. If, for example, you have a desk that doesn't fit the armrest. And then a lumbar support as well. So just that curve sort of in the low back of the chair. And the idea is that you should be able to change your position often in your office chair, because that's going to be the most sort of important thing for making sure you don't use any part of your body for too long and tire it out and wear it out. Also, if I'm talking too fast or if anyone has any questions as I'm sort of talking, just let me know, or maybe put it in the chat and I can address it afterwards. I just have a tendency to talk fast sometimes, so just let me know. And then with a mouse, generally sort of common sense, you want to have enough space to use it. So you want to be able to really have the space to move your arm around and not just go sort of back and forth in one little area of the desk. Okay, and then, so that's all sort of on the ergonomic side of things. In terms of posture, you may or may not be surprised to know that there's no such thing as a perfect posture unless you're referring to a posture that you're changing often. So whether you're slouching in your chair, whether you're sitting with your back straight, feet on the floor, the most important thing to prevent sort of these workplace injuries is to change your posture up and to change it often. So one way you can do this is to take work breaks. So they don't have to be very long breaks, but as long as you're, exactly, I can see Tony over there moving around, changing it up. So work breaks are going to be one of the main things to reduce that sort of discomfort for working after working for long periods of time. So the next slide is going to be a little overwhelming just with all the words on it, but basically this is just a list of sort of ideas for taking breaks, for moving around, for getting out of that sort of one same position that you've been in for a long time. Sometimes you have work meetings that go on all day and you can't even think about getting up or doing anything else. But even things like setting an alarm to remind yourself to get up, drinking lots of water, which forces you to go to the bathroom more often. If you have a ball under your desk, you can kick it around with your feet. And then other ones for people that work in the office, parking far away from their office, so you walk a little further. If you take the bus, getting off a stop or two earlier. And then things like walking around while brushing your teeth. So all sort of things you can incorporate into your day. And then what I have here and on the next slide are just a couple of examples or quick little stretches that you can do throughout your workday to change things up. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so I can demonstrate, and maybe everyone can do this with me. What you're going to do, so imagining you're sitting kind of in this position hunched over at your desk. The idea of this first stretch is to reverse everything that you've been doing for the last however many hours. So you're going to sort of sit back, roll your shoulders back and down. If your hands have been like this, you're going to flip them over and stretch them out so they're at your sides. And then I have sweatpants on, so I'm not going to pan down to my legs, but you want your legs to kind of point out to the sides like this, and kind of sit forward on your chair so your low back is curved at the back. And then the last step, if you've been kind of sitting like this the whole time, you just want to bring your neck back so that you're giving yourself kind of a double chin and having everything kind of nice and straight like this. And then you can hold that for 10 to 15 seconds. Even if you only remember to do this once an hour, it's still going to be better than kind of not moving at all. So just everything kind of stretching out in the front, squeezing your shoulder blades together at the back, and then bringing your chin in to stretch the back of your neck and kind of squeeze the muscles at the front here. Okay, and then The next one. This is more for people who do a lot of mousing, a lot of keyboard work. So for those people who have carpal tunnel or who have forearm or wrist pain, there's this sort of stretch you can do. Obviously, you can stretch your forearms up and down like that. And then the second image is what's called a tendon gliding exercise. So all of the muscles that control your hands and your fingers are actually in through, most of them are in through the forearm. And then all of those muscle tendons travel through the carpal tunnel to get to your fingers. So this exercise, again, is just a way to kind of glide those tendons back and forth and to get them moving through the tunnel. So if everyone, again, wants to follow along, starting with your hands straight like this, you're just going to curl your fingers down and then come back up, coming down into a fist, and then back up. And then pointing your fingers, so you're kind of like flattening them out like that, and then back up. And then making sort of a flat-handed fist with your thumb sticking out and back up. And this just gets those tendons moving in different kind of orientations. Okay, and then I'm going to share one more time. Just to sort of give you an idea of what I can do to help with these sorts of complaints, I do offer ergonomic assessments. They're actually also fairly easy to do over Zoom. Posture and load assessments, just seeing sort of how your posture is day to day, what sorts of activities and loads you're putting on your body throughout the day. Offering exercises kind of similar to the ones that I just demonstrated with you, but also more specific to the kinds of issues that you're experiencing. And then things like manual therapy, so chiropractic adjustments to get your joints moving better. Muscle release therapy, so again, loosening up the tension in the muscles that are overworked day to day. And then offering acupuncture as well, sort of for the same reasons mentioned above. And I would just like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes that I think I heard someone say one time when I was still in school. Motion is lotion and rest is rust. So take that how you will. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Carolina, thank you so much. Are there any questions from the seated crowd here today?
Is there any way that you could send that presentation either on the chat or attach it, or if the PowerPoint? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that that I could put on file.
Sure. Can I? Okay, yes, I'll try to do that right now.
I think Penny Lee has a question.
Either that, she's hand exercise, one of the two,
There you go. I'm doing my. I'm curious, Carolina. You talked about the hand exercises. Is this something that you should do if you have strain, or is it something you should be doing consistently throughout the day to prevent the strain?
Good question. Prevention is definitely number one. So if you want to sort of start incorporating this into your daily routine, great. It should help prevent those sort of injuries down the road. But they're also good if you're already dealing with those issues to just try to loosen some things up. Yeah.
And how often, like, would you say morning, like, let's say morning, afternoon, and evening, or just once a day?
Yeah, so when I give people any kind of stretches or exercises, I always start with just twice a day, kind of in the morning and then in the evening, just to make it easier to keep up with. Because if I'm like, oh, do this 3 or 4 times a day, and people are like, whoa, okay, that's not what I came here for. But yeah, twice a day is a good sort of place to start.
Perfect, thank you.
So Carolina, would it make sense then if you're hosting a meeting, if it's like a Zoom and it's 2 hours, to embed for everybody's benefit, both for physiology and attentiveness, every 35, every 45 a break, or every hour?
The more frequent, the better. So if you do have a 2-hour meeting, for example, I'd say every 30 to 40 minutes minimum, for like an extended sort of break. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you can do it once in the 2 hours, still better than 0.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions from the gallery?
Yes, indeed. So let's just say that you have bad posture. How do you go about correcting it?
So, as I was saying sort of before, bad posture is kind of something that's been ingrained into our minds, like, oh, if you're slouching a lot, it's not good, this and that. But even having what's called sort of like perfect posture, if you're sitting up super straight, if you sit up in that posture for any extended period of time, those muscles are going to get tired, same as they would if you were slouching. So it's not so much that you need to focus on getting that perfect posture. It's just making sure you're moving around a little bit more, switching, even if it's things like crossing and uncrossing your legs, sort of slouching on this side of the chair versus on this side of the chair. Obviously, if you find that you are slouching a lot and that's making you uncomfortable, kind of that similar to that exercise I showed you before with the squeezing the shoulder blades back, you want to focus on strengthening like your upper back. So by squeezing the shoulder blades together, you could do it like lifting weights, or you could just do it with your own kind of body weight. But often people are very tight in through the front of their body and a little bit weaker in through the back. So if you want to sort of work on, I guess, slouching less rather than poor posture, just kind of, again, you can set reminders on your phone to be like, oh, change positions now if you've noticed that you've been sitting in a certain way for a while.